Alright, so updates on this Zenith J615 radio. In the previous video I stopped because this tube here I didn't have. I ordered the wrong kind. So as you can see, I've got the correct kind in there right now, and let's fire this thing up and keep working. I've replaced the light bulb with this fuse temporarily. In the final version, I'm going to have a real fuse holder inside there, and one of those glass, the standard fuses. I forget their exact name. Also, in the interest of safety, I've put this knob back on so I have something insulated to turn this with. I got that tip from John. Great videos, by the way. I'll link his profile. He does vintage radio repair. And in keeping with all the safety stuff, I've attached the earth ground connector of this IEC thing to chassis. So just another set of safety precautions. So let's turn this thing on. I did buy the correct lamp for this, but I lost it. Seriously. I put the bag down somewhere, now I can't find the bag. But anyway, so this still works. So let's turn this on. That's looking good. Turn the volume a bit. Alright, so we're getting some 60 Hz hum, and as you'll find, this is the name of the game. Alright, now I've done it. I've burnt this poor thing out. Alright, time to find that bag. I have no idea where I put it. Well, I found the lights, and no wonder I lost them. There actually wasn't a bag involved at all. So I bought these from the store, and just being these two things, I was like, you know what, I don't need a bag. So I took them home without the bag, and as I was searching for these things, I decided to clean out my car, because there was a couple extra receipts laying around, and I opened up my trash can to throw a fistful of receipts away, and I noticed that one of them felt a little harder than usual. And I opened it up, and sure enough, inside were these two lights. So if you learn nothing from this video, other than the fact that I am forgetful and I lose things often, well, I think my job here is done. But anyways, let's stick one of these suckers in here and proceed with this thing. There we go, much better. So let's try powering this thing on again. I've got the selector back there, that switch over on the radio position, so hopefully we'll hear something and not an explosion. Uh-oh. Why is the light not turning on? Uh-oh. Well, let's try a different light. Maybe this one's bad. Alright. There we go. I guess I just bought a dud. It's not lighting up very brightly, though. That's a bit worrisome. Oh wait, there it goes. Alright, cool. Well, this is annoying. Look. I've got my power supply set for 3 volts. It pegs the current. It's a short. I've never seen that before. Oh well. Trash. What a shame. Anyways. Alright, well, let's try the phono input and see what that does. Bypass a lot of the other stuff here. Alright, so for this thing I've got, just a RCA to whatever it's called, adapter, and I'm using this junky, well, I guess it's not junky, but cheap MP3 player that's battery powered, very important, so I don't set up any ground loops before I know this thing works properly. So let's turn this thing on. I've set it over to the phono section. Let it warm up for a second here. Oh, well, that's not a good sound. Where'd all that 60 Hz come from? Huh, alright. Well, it's responding, so let's hit play, shall we? Well, it's playing here. kinda working. Can you tell what it is? Barely. Alright, that 60 Hertz is coming from everywhere, so I don't think it's my lights. No, I'm gonna have to do some debugging here. I heard that 60 Hertz is often caused by heater problems. Alright, so I've interrupted the heater chain over there. I've put my multimeter in the circuit, just for curiosity's sake, so I've got it on AC amps. Let's turn this on. Alright. I have checked the heater voltage and it's fine. It's a bit low. It's at about 6.2 or so. Anyways, so there we go. We clearly have hum. Let's unplug this and see if it goes away. No. So it should eventually die as the tubes cool down. These are persistent. Alright, there it goes. It's starting to die out. Alright, so the tubes are now cold, and looks like the heater has nothing to do with the problem. Alright, so after a bunch of poking around, haven't made much progress. My suspicions now turn to this capacitor, or this set of capacitors here. See that paper cylinder back there? The really tall one that's brownish. That corresponds to these guys here. I'm going to try to rip this guy out and replace it. Well, after much trial and tribulation, I've managed to pull this thing out. The problem was this lug right, where is it? Yeah, this lug right here, which is twisted on and also soldered to a bunch of components, and to get that cleaned up properly and straightened out so I could pull it out was quite difficult. So now I'm going to try to figure out how to open this thing and hopefully replace the components inside. Well, this might end up being rather difficult. I don't see any obvious way of getting into this thing, short of, like, you know, prying up this folded over section and going from there. So, alright, you know what? This is a pretty cheap radio and not very rare, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this thing back in there and just put new capacitors in there, just, you know, lying inside here somewhere, and leave this one for appearance only. It looks like it's going to be a bit of a chore to somehow get the paper to slide off, and then I have to cut it open with a Dremel or a pipe cutter or something like that. So, nuts to that. And here's the caps I'm going to use to replace this thing. I find that, or I have found during the course of this project, that these boards from dead plasma displays are a pretty nice source of cheap replacement, high voltage compatible components. So most of the replacement caps that you see in there are actually from, I think, this very board here. Or was it? Maybe it was this one. Anyways, they're often rated, you know, in excess of 1,000 volts or something like that. These big ones are like 600 and something microfarad at 250 volts, and there's some 300 volt caps in here, and pretty good overall. So I've replaced the caps. You can see them in there. There. And as you can hear, we've still got the hum. Darn it, and it persists even if I short out the phono input there. So more studying is required. Well, of course, as usual, it's me. That's the problem. It's the extra ground that I added that adds the hum because of ground loops. So I got rid of that. The chassis is a bit less safe because of it, but I suppose it's alright. It's all insulated when it's in the whatever you call that thing, case, enclosure, cabinet, there we go. Anyways, so just out of curiosity, before I start piping sound into this thing, I wanted to check to see what the potential difference between this thing and ground is, and there's your answer. about the full 120 volts, AC of course, DC there's about nothing. Now I think this is pretty normal, even with today's equipment. Like if you have a switch mode power supply and it's isolated from the earth, you'll get about this much riding on top of your chassis. But just to be safe, what I did is I took this 100 ohm resistor, connected one side to earth, the other side to the chassis, and it goes down to almost nothing. So what this tells me is that while there might be high voltage present, it doesn't have much power behind it. So if you were to touch this thing, not that I'm actually gonna, but if you were, you would probably be fine. Alright, I've let the tubes warm up. Let's hit play.
I'm making a note here, huge success.
It works, but there is a nasty 60 Hz hum still. It works. Problem was, as you may guess from that capacitor kind of jury-rigged in there, there's insufficient coupling from this thing's signal return ground to the chassis basically. So I guess it would be this cap right here. See how it's going from that's the input jack. Sorry, you can't see because it's badly focused, but that's the input jack there. This capacitor is going to ground, or actually to B minus. So I guess this one's not working right or something. So let me replace that with a better one and we'll see. See, look, there's a better shot. That's the jack there and B minus there. Oh, and by the way, this is Bioshock intro song, or piece, I should say. Which I thought, I don't know, it sort of kind of fits the whole vintage of this thing. Maybe, whatever. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Alright, so way overkill cap has been installed there. And now, well, I've turned it up all the way. I can't hear anything, can you? Perfect. So, let's shut it down. Next step would be to try to get the radio side of this working. I think it already does work. I've gotten it to pick up a few stations. The problem is that there's absolutely no antenna. See that black tape thing over there in the background? That's where the antenna is supposed to go. So I've mentioned that the back is missing off of this this case here, and the back is what contains the antenna. It's just a big loop of wire. So I'm gonna go do some research to try to find a suitable replacement, or at least specs for the antenna. Well, I can't find much information, but I have found this high-resolution picture of a back from the same type of a radio, and from this guy's website. So I guess that's his call sign. He's a ham. So yeah, I think what I'm going to do to try to figure out the number of turns in this thing is to just find, measure what the width of maybe this part is, and then measure this distance, and then divide, find the number of turns. Assuming, of course, that each, this thing corresponds to one turn. If it's not some sort of fancy wire that's in layers or something like that. But we'll try this out and see how well it works. I don't plan on using this thing as a radio, really. I plan to use it just as like a desk piece hooked up to my work computer, just for fun. So, but might as well try to get everything working. Well, forget the fancy measurement technique. I just found it easier to go in with my little editing tool here and just count out, with a little pen, how many turns there are. And it turns out, from as far as I can tell, there's 10. This is kind of ambiguous. I've traced it going across here, and it doesn't look like This is actually a wire here, so I'm going to go with 10. There might be 20 or some multiple of 10 if these wires are actually stacks. But yeah, for now I'll just use 10 and see how it goes. I think what I'm going to do is just take some Ethernet cable and just use that. And of course the reason I want to use Ethernet cabling is because, well, there's already 8 wires in here, so just one turn of this equals 8 turns of wire if I wire this up correctly. Well, how's this for a hack? Anyways, I've used 5 conductors in here, 2 turns equaling a total of 10 turns. I hooked it up to the antenna leads. Let's see what happens. I've switched over to radio mode. Give it a second to warm up. Oh, sounds different from before. Oh yeah. Who knew Coca-Cola did antenna coils? But anyways, that's 20 turns, and I don't know about you, but this is sounding a lot better. Listen. There's a station. There's a really loud station.
Hat feeling today. It's easy. Reface your kitchen with our exclusive and very unique solid wood process.
So the magic number appears to be 30 from this setup, which is of course far from, you know, clinical, I suppose. I've tried, well, judging from the picture, you know, I saw 10 turns there, so I just tried multiples of 10 until I found something that sounded worse than the previous one. So 10, I could barely pick anything up. 20, I could pick up a number of stations. 30, I could pick up more, and the ones that I could pick up sounded better. And then 40 turns, I started losing the weaker stations. So for now, I'm going to go with 30. But I'm going to just make my antenna out of, you know, tape and then some wire hacked up like this until I don't know, just in case I find something else out. So for now, I think I'm going to declare the actual electronics working and focus on that. There's not much that needs to be done. I just need to basically clean it off, and that's pretty much it. The actual, whatever you call this, needle, I suppose, it's a bit hard to see, but especially because my camera isn't good, but it's a bit spotted, so I think I need to refinish this thing. I think it's coated with some sort of lacquer, so I might need to take that off, polish this thing back up, and respray it with some clear lacquer or something like that. But the cabinet itself looks pretty good. I'm going to try the alignment procedure. Unfortunately, it tells me to do things like, you know, set the dial at, you know, 600 kilohertz. Well, gee, thanks, but I don't actually know what where 600 kilohertz is on this cap. But I'll figure something out. In any case, that'll be for the next video, so I'll end this one here. It's probably going to be gigantically long. So, yep, till next time, I suppose.